everyone. I hope you're keeping well. I just wanted to share with you some thoughts I've been having recently. I've been spending quite a bit of time in Genesis, and I came across the story of Noah, as you do when you're reading through, and there was just something in there that resonated to me with the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. As you know, the story of Noah, he was the only righteous person left on the earth, and God said he was going to send a terrible flood, and he did what seemed very crazy to everyone around him. Built a massive boat in the middle of the land, where there was no sea and there was no water around, that it would ever realistically be used for and used on. But he did this crazy thing, and he just obeyed God, and he saved one of every kind of animal in the whole world, and saved his family, and we endured this terrible flood, the likes of which has never been seen before and never been seen since. And I was reading this narrative, and we all know that he was that it was raining for 40 days and 40 nights and all that. And sometimes I think we can forget the bit that stuck out to me, which was actually in chapter 8, verse 13, where it says that they were on the ark for 10 months. I was like, wow, 10 months, that's a long time. In a boat with no windows, with all these animals that probably stank to high heaven, with lots of food, some of which was probably rotting, let alone the waste that they produced. And it was probably the most unimaginably nasty place to be, but it was still, all the physical and all the physical stuff around them was telling them that it was not a good place to be. But at the same time, it was the thing that saved them from what was going on around them. And this kind of jumped out to me as, contrasted with where we find ourselves. We're obviously in lockdown at the moment, and comparatively, we really do have nothing really to complain about in comparison to that. We are able to go out of our doors, we're able to go for walks, and sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's not, but we're still able to enjoy our creature comforts and pop Netflix on and enjoy the company of one another. There was literally only a handful of people in the whole world that was left, and they didn't have to Zoom each other, and they didn't have to Skype each other and WhatsApp each other and all that stuff. They were all there together. But as we all know as well, being with family can sometimes be hard, and their lockdown didn't really end after the end of the 10 months. They got to the end of the 10 months and there was still just them to be with. So they got to the end of those 10 months, they got off the boat, and they had to start everything fresh, everything new. But they couldn't go and find someone else to talk to. They couldn't go and be with the friends that they wanted to be with afterwards. They were stuck with the people that were on the boat with them. And I don't know what it was about this story. It just made me realise just how blessed we are, that we are able to connect with so many more people than just the people that we find ourselves living with. Of course, we love the people that we're living with, but you hear what I'm saying, that we are not limited to only a handful of people that we can spend our lives with and who we can share our time with. And we've got so much available to us. And there isn't much narrative in the story of Noah of how Noah felt through it all, and how, all of these personal interactions, because by the time it was recorded, it was more of a historical account rather than a personal experience account. But you can imagine, if you put yourself in Noah's shoes, just how uncomfortable and how difficult that situation would have been, where this horrendous thing is going on outside that you can't even see because the boat has no windows, but you just trust in God through it all. And he believed the crazy thing that God had said, which was that there was going to be this massive flood. He got on this boat and shut himself in with enough food and water for all these animals for 10 months. That's a lot. And And he trusted God to say, I am also going to make these waters recede, and I'm going to make nations come from you, and I'm going to rebuild earth and the human race from you. And he just trusted him through all of it. And like I say, there's not an awful lot of narrative as to how they got on. There were probably disagreements, probably days where they just did not want to be where they were, but they still were there, and they still came to the end of it. And they came to the end of it so strong that all those amazing things did happen, and as a result we are here. And I just wanted to encourage you that whilst you might not be able to see the end of what you're going through or what we're going through collectively, that the end will come, and God has got his hand on all of it, and you just need to trust him through it and believe what he says. If he says that some crazy thing's going to happen, but it's going to be all right in the end, as it did with the story of Noah, we trust it, and we know that God wins, and he's got all things under his control. And we trust him through this situation, that he's not just keeping us going, he's not just keeping us afloat, he's going to prosper us through it and from it. And the way that we connect with people now will influence how we connect with people going forward as well. I hope that any of that makes sense. Some of that makes sense. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you what God was speaking to me about in that. Stay safe. Hopefully see you soon. Maybe Zoom you, WhatsApp you, because we can, and we are still family. We might be separated by physical barriers at the moment and boundaries, but we can still connect in a way that Noah was never able to do. We have got so much more available to us to be able to do those things. And I really hope that we can continue to look after each other and encourage one another through this and beyond this.